Hello everyone and thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Diatone Tina Whoop, featuring the Diatone Mamba F411 all-in-one ESC and flight controller. ESCs are 13 amp rated with a 15 amp 10-second burst, Runcam Nano 2 FPV camera, TBS Nano VTX, Mamba 1103 8500 kV motors. This might be the only top-mounted whoop I've ever seen. It also comes with a second set of colorful whoops, or prop guards depending upon how you see them. Got an all-in-one diagram as well as a couple extra connectors and a smaller version of the diagram. We get a pack of different sized M2 screws, assortment of zip ties, an extra battery strap, buzzer and a connector, and an extra set of rubber grommets. And wouldn't you know it, stickers. And we shouldn't forget about the case. It weighs in at almost 60 grams. I flew it on this 2S 450 milliamp GNB battery, which brings the weight up to almost 87 grams. Outside, I flew it on this RDQ 2S 525 battery, which brings the weight up to almost 89 grams. Motor post to motor post, I'm getting just about 86 millimeters. Carbon plates are about 1 millimeter thick. So as you can see there, before we get started, we have a little bit of a different looking OSD, and that's because I didn't take any shortcuts, or you can slap Betaflight on this board if you want to, but I wanted to experience the FalcoX from the Flight 1 developers. And, you know, so I am far from anywhere near well-versed in Flight 1. This is my first experience with it. So I spent about 50 flights or so flying it mainly in the house, and working on the tune, and what we're looking at is what I ended up with. Now, you could probably do a far better job tuning this than I did. There's probably others that can see deficiencies in this tune, but this is the tune that I kind of ended with and ended up flying with the most after about, well, like I said, about 50 flights. I think I had 60 flights total indoor. It's always hard to tell because I throw so many out because of the often crashes. They're just, I could cut them up and make a crash reel, but it gets tedious and time consuming. So I don't generally do that. So the FalcoX is designed where you don't need a computer in order to set up the quad. And it kind of walks you through, if you are real familiar with Betaflight, you kind of feel as though FalcoX is walking you through all the pre-flight checks that you would do in Betaflight before you go fly for the first time with a ready-to-fly quad. You know, it asks you if motor 1's turning, and then it asks you, you know, which way is it turning, and then it says, you know, the props need to be put onto where the high side is on this side of the prop, and it's all relatively intuitive. Now, I did screw it up. I did change, apparently inadvertently, I changed the video from NTSC to PAL, or the other way around, and then I lost OSD, contacted Flight 1. They say, oh yeah, just switch the system back the other way, which is what I was thinking, but I was at work, and I figured, oh, I'll give them a shout out, see what they have to say about this, and they kind of confirmed that for me, and I am pleased that they got back to me right away. I'm not certain if they're aware of this channel or not, so there could be special treatment in their return of the message. Maybe not. It's hard to say. I really never know. I could tell you this, it's the first time that I've ever had a message with anyone from Flight 1 that I'm aware of. So you don't need a computer to set this one up, and I think that's pretty revolutionary. Maybe it's just revolutionary to me because I've always needed a PC or at least some form of a computer to set up all my machines in order to fly them. It also has PID profiles from the flight crew that they have, the pro pilots that do all their testing, so you can select one of those. I ended up going with a low power tune and then changing the PIDs for the flight field that I was looking for. They also have rate profiles that you can select from those pilots as well, and you just kind of click. You know, you kind of just go through them with your switches, or there is a companion that you can download on the PC. I'll go ahead and pull my, I don't know what they call it in FalcoX, the dump file, the configuration file, and I'll link that down in the video description down below. You see we land there and we get well over 3.5 volts per cell, so we could have flown just a little bit longer, and we get about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So I didn't have a lot of outside flights on this. I really concentrated inside. So you're going to see me do a lot of stuff that is really just about testing my tune, because I'm still unsure of myself at this point. But it is a pretty decent flight, and unfortunately I ended up damaging this quad. I'm not sure when this quad is going to actually come to market. You know, they've had a lot going on with the Chinese New Year and then the coronavirus over there. I do think more and more of our FPV manufacturers are starting to get back to work now. So we may see it being listed. I have no idea what the price would be, but when if it comes to market and I receive any sort of notification about that, I will put a link down in the video description. And as you can see in those hard 180 turns, I don't really hear or see any chop or what I call oscillations or typical stuff that we're trying to tune out in Betaflight. And this is my only day flying this outside, because I may have mentioned it already, I end up either killing the ESC or there was a little bit of chop. going down and turning hard. I had a little bit of chop there, so I might have some pit tuning work to do. But either I damaged the motor, I damaged the ESC, I did something that I shouldn't have been, and that was using turtle mode. And then because this is a pusher prop, I actually took off from the ground, and you'll see me do it at the end of this flight footage, and I do it successfully, but in another flight, not so much. Oh, that reminds me, now that I see that roll, also, it doesn't use a digital idle like a percentage like Betaflight. It uses kind of, it uses idle up. That's what it uses. And I don't have that set where I would be comfortable. You know, typically with my high rates that I use, I would flip and roll a lot faster than what we see there. You see it's actually almost kind of loose. I think that has more to do with my stick control than it is with how it does that sort of thing. So I'm kind of skewing what you might think of FalcoX when it comes to the flips and rolls. I think I would need to do more work possibly on the rates. You know, I'm used to the super rates where at the stick ends it really speeds up. Oh, here as we go through the swing set here, I had gotten a request to go down the slide, so I'm trying to actually figure that out. At the moment, when I'm flying it, I don't think I'm going to be using this in my review video because how the flips and rolls, I wanted to work on that more. But here we go. Hey! Not too bad, not too bad. That was kind of fun. So a little fun thing that I didn't intend to include, but because I do damage the quad in a later flight, we ended up including it anyways. So take, you know, I say this over and over again, be very, very careful about using turtle mode and prop obstructions. It's a risk. This is a 13 amp ESC. I think I burned the ESC. It smelled burnt, but it could have been the motor. I'll do some testing to confirm that here afterwards. We've got a few things to talk about at the desk as I kind of round out this footage. It is very durable. You'll see me fall off the table here as I end the flight and fall down to the cement, and it is fairly cold. You might be able to tell I'm wearing a jacket over there. I think it's somewhere around the 37 or 38 degree marker. And then we ended up getting snow just a couple of days after these flights. Jeez. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is I think it's this motor that's burned. And we really can't see anything of the motor. I could have unscrewed it and taken it apart, but I wanted to do the review. I've actually been done flying this for about a week. It takes me a while to get around to things. So while we're on this side, also, I would prefer, because this is where we're going to land, you know, the battery's up here, this is our landing side, that this have some like cross right here, because if you come down on a rock or something when you're landing, you could end up damaging your board. This little plastic sheathing might help to keep moisture off of the components, but it's sure not going to help if you have any sort of uneven surface that you're coming down to. That might be rare, but I think it's a very, very little thing, and it would probably only add 1/4 gram at most if we added a cross brace here and another one here. It gives us much more opportunity to hit that rather than one of our components. So I think that's one thing that they should improve. If you get one, I would encourage you to place some foam underneath this pad. Maybe you can slide it in over here to protect those components as well. Also, look at the hoops down here. See how the motor wires are threaded through and then they solder onto the board. I don't like that, because if you want to change out the hoops, you've got to desolder all your motor wires. So that's you know, and they include that other set, so that's a big pain in the backside. I do think we can get around it by taking some diagonal cutters or some wire snips and snip out a little section of this and then kind of fish the wires out if you wanted to change the prop guards. It is going to take some work to change the prop guards, because as you can see, we have all these screws on both sides. So if you want to change these out, it's going to take some work, especially these front sections. There's 3 screws in each one on the front versus the rear. There's only 2. There's one on each corner here. We've got a TPU mount for our VTX that seems to hold things in well. I did not mount my receiver down. I just kind of laid it in there. The VTX is mounted on a board that is mounted with 3 of the posts, as you can see in the picture. It's not mounted on 4 all the way across. I don't really have a problem with that. It's all protected inside of its cage, but it's something I want to draw your attention to. I did just kind of fish my antenna wires through here. Of course, I don't fly at great range, so you know, you may want to mount yours differently if you have a quad like this. It would be ideal if you had one up and one back at a 90 degree, so that gives you the best possible coverage. This front mount is 3D printed. Hopefully you can see that. Let me zoom in so you can kind of see the lines in the print. So I'm pretty sure that's 3D printed, but I didn't see any jello in the video, so you tell me if you see any jello. This is Diatone's smallest strap, although I do think it could be a touch smaller. Of course, if you wanted to fly 3S, I wouldn't suggest it. These are 8500 kV motors. You could probably get away with flying 3S. I just don't think you'll benefit much from it. I think your flight times will come down. Of course, your thrust, if your punch on your pops will come up, on your punch outs will come up. It'll be more aggressive, but your flight time overall will probably be shorter. I think 2S is kind of the sweet spot. As I said in the quick roll, 450 inside is what I was flying. 520 outside is what I was flying. These are very robust, and I think a good portion of that weight we're seeing is from these prop guards. I would be surprised if they broke, and I suspect if they broke, it would be here or where the screws go through. I think that's something else you need to be aware of is when you're screwing these things down, keep in mind this is some sort of, non-real hardy plastic, so you don't want to get your Hulk hands and really grind these down, otherwise you'll strip them right out. So get them snug, get them taut, but then leave it at that. Don't keep going until you can't go anymore. But it is solid. It isn't flexible like we typically see with a lot of our Whoop type of mounts, and they did something a bit different, which I applaud. Again, I'll have my CLI for the FalcoX down in the video description down below if you want to try it. You can get the Diatone F411 board and try FalcoX on it, so if you purchase one of those boards, I'll put a link down below. I don't know if they're available to purchase yet or not, but I have looked and seen those listed on their website. Again, you can set them up through a computer in the companion on your PC, or you can just go through the OSD. And something else that it does do in the OSD that I thought was fairly interesting is it blanks out your camera when you go into the OSD, so you can see everything very, very clearly. Now, to me, I thought that was pretty cool because I like being able to see things really easily. I didn't have to worry about having a light or, a light-colored wall in my camera view when I was trying to change settings. It goes to black and white text, and you can see very clearly. I don't know why we don't do that in Betaflight. Maybe it's just a history thing, but that was something new that also caught my eye. It does have turtle mode, but it's called Koopa mode. I think I'm saying that right. Koopa. Maybe was one of the turtles in Mario Brothers, the Nintendo game called Koopa or something like that. So it does have that. You have essentially everything that you would expect in Betaflight is in FalcoX. It's revolutionary in how it goes about setting it up without a PC. Of course, the filter settings are going to be a little bit different than Betaflight. I am not an expert on that. I did not tinker with the filter settings. If I didn't say it in the flight footage, I used the low power tune and whatever filters come with that, and then I actually changed the PID values to get the feel that I was looking for in flight. It's an interesting product, and I applied them for trying something new. Tell me what you think. I know it's heavy, and it's not going to be great for traditional inside your house flying. I see inside flying as more of a gymnasium or a big warehouse or, things of that nature. Inside a typical house that's going to have 36-inch doors in it and hallways that are, about 42 inches wide. That's not what this one's for, just because it's going to take a fair bit to manage. Maybe in angle mode or whatever the equivalent in FalcoX angle mode is, it might be more manageable. But, I could definitely tell at the weight that this was more challenging to fly inside than, say, a 20-gram Whoop. But what it could be is a really good, safe trainer. And it's top mounted, so it's unique in a couple of different ways. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. If you have any other comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.